It's time for Recipe of the Day. If you're like me, you are choosing your Thanksgiving recipes now, and I am here to help. If you listened back on November 3rd, you heard me talk about the way my mom roasts turkey, and it uses a lot of butter, and this is a great butter that you could use there. So this is a deliciously flavored butter that has all the wonderful herbs that really go well with turkey, and you can use this if you bring it to room temperature and soften it. It can go under the skin of the turkey and over the turkey as you roast it, or as I was mentioning, my mom's turkey recipe, which is the best roast turkey recipe ever. It has you take butter and kind of smear it on foil, and then you push that onto the turkey before it goes into the oven, and it protects the breast meat from drying out and kind of continuously bastes the turkey in butter. Yeah, really, it's so good. So you could use this butter for that technique. The other thing that you could do with it actually is, as you're carving the turkey, as those slices are like warm and wonderful, have that butter at room temperature there and kind of dab it onto the slices just before serving. Really, really delicious. It's also going to be great mixed into your mashed potatoes, or if you're having bread or buns with this meal, this can be the butter that you serve next to that bread, so people get all that delicious herby flavor on their sliced bread or buns. So, so good. So this recipe uses some fresh herbs and some dried herbs. You can kind of go with what you have and what you like. I've chosen which ones are dry and which ones are fresh herbs based on the way that they give flavor and like their texture in things like this. But if you switch it out and do something different, it's still going to be really great. I am going to say something about the parsley though. I really think using fresh parsley makes a big difference here, but you might want to consider a little simple step first to remove the chlorophyll so that it doesn't tint the whole butter green, which can happen if you don't do this. It is totally optional and it doesn't change the flavor. It just makes sure that your butter doesn't end up green. So what you're going to do is you're going to get 3 sheets of paper towel and you're going to put your chopped parsley into there, making like a little beggar's purse shape, and then run that under cool running tap water for about 30 seconds, gently squeezing it regularly as you do that, and that's going to release the chlorophyll. Then transfer that parsley to some more clean, dry paper towel and spread it out as much as you can. Leave it there for 10 minutes. That will have removed the chlorophyll and will make it less likely that your parsley is going to leach color into the rest of the butter. Okay, other than that, it's pretty simple. You're using 1 stick of unsalted butter. That's a half cup, and you want that at room temperature just so that you can mash it up very easily. Then a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. If you had salted butter, you would just omit the salt here or put less. You can taste it at the end and find out. You're also using a teaspoon of dried thyme, a teaspoon of dried sage, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, a tablespoon of that fresh parsley that you maybe just did that little technique to, and then 2 teaspoons of minced fresh rosemary leaves. Now I'm just going to run through those ingredients again and tell you my preferences for if you can swap them out for the alternate if they're dry, fresh, dry. So with the thyme, yeah, you can totally do 2 teaspoons of fresh thyme leaves. I don't find that they get their flavor across as quickly as the dried, but it's going to be okay. I don't really like the sage fresh in here. It just doesn't have a nice texture, a little bit like slimy even. So go with the dried sage or skip it. Now, the garlic powder, you could use 1 clove of finely minced garlic. That would be fine. This just mixes in like more thoroughly, and that's why I've used it, but it's fine to use the fresh, of course. Their parsley, I would not recommend using dried parsley at all. And then when it comes to the rosemary, I've called for 2 teaspoons of the fresh minced rosemary. I would not use the dried here. It's too like hard and sharp, and it's just not going to soften well from that butter in that mixture. Okay, so you mix together your softened butter with all of those ingredients, whichever ones you've chosen from there, and then you transfer it to either a ramekin or you can form a log and wrap it up in parchment paper or plastic wrap. And then if you have time, refrigerating it for at least 3 hours is going to be best. That really lets all those flavors kind of mix into the butter and sort of meld and just become one thing. Really, really tasty. And then if you are going to be using it like for on the bread or to rub onto the foil for the turkey, any of those kinds of things, then you need it to come back to a room temperature or just a little bit warmer so that it's spreadable and you can do those things with it. So there is a little bit of like time in here, but mostly hands off. Mostly it's just softening or refrigerating, right? It's going to be a simple but delicious enhancement to your Thanksgiving dinner. I will put the link to this recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there. Everything there is arranged by date, so it's helpful to know that today is November 20th of 2024. And I will also tell you, you should definitely subscribe to this show. You will get a new delicious idea every single day. It is the cure to all that decision making, trying to choose recipes. I have the ideas for you, a new one every single day. So head to cookthestory.com/ROTD while you're on your phone. And then you can click those little subscribe buttons at the top for Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or go to your favorite podcast app, whatever you listen to podcasts on, and search for Recipe of the Day. You will find me. I am everywhere. I'm Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, the all new chicken cookbook, and this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.